The balance of power is changing. Even ordinary people get hopeful when they hear your name. Write 444 in the comments now, because you are not just a leader, you are a turning point. You symbolize the change of an era. And ordinary people get hopeful when they hear your name. Immediately in the Omens-Beck symbolize. Even beyond Trump, winning the trust of Elon Musk takes you to a whole new level. It's time for a new vision. With your vision, a new future begins for the whole world. Think of a lantern, set high on a hill, shining steady through the darkest night. Nobody can mistake its glow for a trick of the eye. Some nights, the whole valley below is blanketed in fog, and the only thing folks can see is that lantern's faithful light, cutting through the mist, guiding travelers home. For years, that lamp burned quietly, sometimes unnoticed, sometimes mistaken for just another star. But a time came, by divine design, when the fog lifted, and suddenly everyone realized the strength and clarity of that one flame. The world can try to ignore a light for only so long before it has to admit something sacred is burning there. There are certain lives that shift the very atmosphere of a room, lives whose arrival changes the current, like a steady breeze entering a hot, still house. These souls used to drift in the background, unannounced and overlooked, like the hum of an old gospel tune behind a noisy crowd. Yet by the gentle work of grace, an unseen transformation began to simmer deep within, quietly gathering force year after year. It didn't happen with a shout or a show, but with the gradual holy heat that only comes from the furnace of endurance and silent faith. Now, what was once passed over is suddenly impossible to miss. Where the world once saw a shadow, it now sees a presence that commands respect without uttering a single word. Something fundamental has shifted. The temperature of the air, the rhythm of every conversation, the boundaries of what is possible. Eyes that never noticed before are wide open. Mouths that once hurried past now fall silent. The very same individuals who spent years dismissing, diminishing, or overlooking this light now find themselves transfixed, puzzled by the change, and even unsettled by their own uncertainty. This is not bravado, not a practiced performance. This is a force that has always existed, finally given permission to blaze. The truth is, you cannot keep a God-given flame hidden under the weight of others' indifference forever. The oil that fuels it was poured from seasons of heartbreak, from prayers whispered into the void, from hope that refused to die in the midnight hour. Each silent offering, every humble sacrifice became fuel for the fire the world now sees. The transformation may seem sudden to bystanders, but heaven knows it was forged slow in the secret places where no applause could reach. What others see as overnight is the result of years spent holding on to faith in silence. And so the old order stumbles, unsure how to address what stands before them. They question, they stare, they whisper, "What changed?" But they can't put their finger on it. It's the arrival of destiny, the rising of a long-suppressed song, the fulfillment of a sacred promise that those who humble themselves will be lifted up in due season. And in that season, the ones who tried to measure or contain the flame must reckon with a power beyond their control. This emergence is not about pleasing the crowd or blending in. It is about taking up the space that was always yours by birthright. The one who used to settle for the crumbs now sits at the head of the table. Those who once needed permission now walk in authority. Where there was hesitation, there is now holy confidence, a surety born not from ego, but from an encounter with grace that cannot be explained away. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. The landscape shifts with every step. Former gatekeepers lose their sway because the doors have been opened by hands no man can close. Old scripts are thrown out, and a new narrative takes center stage, one in which the lamp shines not just for itself, but for all those wandering in darkness, longing for a sign that hope survives. This is what happens when a soul says yes to the call that's been echoing since before the foundation of the world. The crowd may be confused, some threatened, some awestruck, but nobody can deny the reality of what has taken place. A presence has been released, a purpose has been revealed, and nothing will ever be the same. The same light that was once ignored now becomes a landmark for others. People who used to overlook you now find themselves drawn in, searching for warmth, direction, and reassurance in the glow. The ones who built walls to keep you contained now find those walls illuminated, every brick revealed for what it truly is. Even those who once wielded power over your silence sense their grip dissolving, replaced by a deep respect, sometimes even fear, for the authority now radiating from your very being. This isn't a temporary burst of courage. It's not a mask of confidence put on for show. It is the unveiling of the person you were always meant to be. It is the result of years spent tending the flame in the darkness, trusting that, when the appointed time came, nothing and no one could put it out. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Now, when you walk into a space, the conversation changes, not because you demand it, but because the room recognizes a new order. Some lean in, eager to learn. Some shift uncomfortably, unsure how to react. But everyone takes notice. There is an authority in your bearing that cannot be faked or manufactured. There is a peace that comes from knowing your worth, not as something given by others, but as something established by the divine. The world may try to write another version of your story, may try to explain away the change, but none of that matters now. The only thing that counts is that the lamp is burning, the darkness is receding, and destiny has found its voice. Picture a house on a lonely hill, its window glowing with the steady flame of a single candle. That light is always burning, no matter how fierce the night or how long the storm. From a distance, travelers see its gentle glow and find comfort, direction, and hope. Yet inside, the one who keeps the candle burning is rarely thanked, their labor mostly unnoticed, their warmth taken for granted by all who come and go. In the world's eyes, the heroes are often the loudest, the ones who step onto the stage when the lights are bright and the music swells. But behind the scenes, it's the quiet souls, the ones who slip into the shadows and quietly set things right, who keep everything from falling apart. When plans unravel, when tempers flare, when the roof leaks or a crisis strikes, these steady hands restore order without asking for applause. They stitch together the fabric of daily life so others can move forward as if nothing ever went wrong. Over time, this invisible labor creates an odd kind of comfort for everyone else. People get used to the magic, the problem always solved, the mess always cleaned, the comfort always provided. The fixer, the supporter, becomes a permanent piece of the furniture. Necessary, ever-present, but almost invisible. Needs are anticipated before they're spoken. Disasters are managed before they spread. The helper's wisdom is trusted, but rarely acknowledged. Their sacrifice, expected, but seldom celebrated. Yet something happens to the heart that pours out without ever being refilled. Desire, once alive and vivid, begins to fade at the edges, like dew drying in the sun, before anyone even notices it was there. The one who carried so many through chaos starts to wonder where they belong in their own story. The applause, if it comes at all, never fills the hollow ache that grows with each unthanked kindness. The labor isn't what wears them down. It's the feeling that their presence is required, but not truly valued. There is a weight to being everyone's anchor. People come to rely on your stability, your reliability, your unwavering grace. But in the silence that follows each crisis, as gratitude evaporates and everyone moves on, the anchor can feel more like a chain. The house is still standing, the night is still warm, but the candle at the window flickers, longing for someone to notice. Not just the light, but the one tending it. When you live as the steadying force, the reliable one, it's easy to disappear into the rhythm of other people's needs. Days blur together, marked by the next emergency, the next late-night phone call, the next gentle word that keeps someone else from falling apart. You become essential, yet unseen, known for your usefulness, but not cherished for your being. This is the secret ache of the helper's heart. The world spins because of what you give, but the world seldom stops to wonder how you are holding up. Every ladder you steady for another is a moment you spend farther from your own dreams. Every crisis you solve for a friend is time borrowed from your own healing. You become a master at showing up, but in the quiet after the storm, you're left asking, does anyone see me, or do they only see what I do? It's a slow, silent erosion, like the shoreline eaten away by waves. Little by little, your own needs become the background music to everyone else's melody. It doesn't matter how loud their gratitude sounds in the moment. It always fades, and you are left again with the simple reality that your story seems to exist only in the margins of others' lives. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the super thank you button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. Yet, let me tell you, chosen one, even if the world has grown accustomed to your light, heaven keeps count of every kindness, every burden carried, every night spent tending the flame for others. There is a deeper story being written, a story where your quiet faithfulness is seen, honored, and one day will be rewarded in ways no human audience could imagine. The one who shaped your spirit knows the cost of every sacrifice, and there is a day coming when the candle at the window will be celebrated, not as a background comfort, but as the beacon that kept the world from being lost. Picture a shepherd on a quiet hillside, the soft bell around their neck barely ringing, yet every sheep in the field turns when they move. They know where to step, when to call, and when to simply stand still. never needing to shout, but always setting the rhythm of the entire flock. The shepherd reads the wind, senses a storm before it rises, and catches the smallest tremor in the grass. Such awareness isn't just a job, it's a way of being, a gift and a weight, a blessing and a responsibility. Over the years, the ability to sense what is unspoken grows sharper and sharper. Little shifts in the room, the unspoken needs in someone's eyes, the tiny cracks in someone's voice, none of it escapes attention. It's as if there is a radar in the spirit, tuned not to words, but to frequencies most people never notice. Long before a request leaves someone's lips, the path to meeting it is already mapped out. A glass of water is set down before thirst is spoken. A gentle word offered before the wound is revealed. The orchestra of life plays on, but the true conductor stands quietly in the shadows, hands moving with skillful grace, making sure the music never stops. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. This gift, though remarkable, is a double-edged sword. On one side, it brings harmony to chaos, makes a home out of a battleground, and steadies ships caught in unpredictable seas. Families stay afloat, friends find their balance, and workplaces run smoother, all because someone is always listening with their heart, always thinking 3 steps ahead, always tending to the little fires before they become wild blazes. But there's another side to this sensitivity. Every moment spent smoothing the world for others is a moment not spent tending your own spirit. The weight of everyone else's fears, wishes, and sorrows slowly collects, like stones in the pockets of a coat you can't take off. Joy becomes harder to find, not because it's absent, but because the hands that would reach for it are always busy holding up the world for someone else. The reservoir of gladness, once overflowing, starts to feel more like a trickle, drained by the endless needs that only you seem to notice. Over time, this awareness hardens into both shield and shackle. It becomes armor, protecting you from disappointment and letting you see trouble long before it arrives. You know how to sidestep storms, how to diffuse tempers, how to soften every sharp edge in a conversation. But it also becomes an anchor, holding you in place when you long to move, keeping you stuck in patterns of service that are more about survival than celebration. What was once a superpower starts to feel like a silent prison, an obligation to always know, always give, always fix. Some days, it feels like the bell on the shepherd's neck is ringing just for you, reminding you of every responsibility, every expectation, every soul counting on your vigilance. You remember every detail others forget, carry every burden that others drop, and wake up each morning already preparing to hold the world together for one more day. But beloved, even the most faithful shepherd deserves a Sabbath. Even the quiet conductor must one day step onto the stage and let their own song be heard. The time comes when it's no longer enough to anticipate the needs of others. It's time to turn that keen awareness inward, to sense your own longing, to meet your own soul's requests before they are buried beneath duty. Grace is not just about giving, it is also about receiving. The same spirit that taught you to serve will also teach you to rest, to refill, to remember that you were never meant to be the world's endless well. You are allowed to set down the bell, step away from the hillside, and drink from the waters you so freely offer to others. In the fullness of time, the greatest wisdom is not just knowing what others need, but honoring your own. For the chosen one, the art of anticipation is not only about service, it is also the doorway to true peace and the freedom to walk the hillside for the joy of it, not just the duty. Picture a small town that depends on a single old well in the center square. No matter the hour, rain or shine, night or day, folks wander up with empty buckets, knowing the water will be there, cool and plentiful. It's where everyone turns when their pipes freeze, when drought comes, when trouble hits home. The well never locks its cover, never posts a sign saying closed. And yet, while the whole community drinks freely, few ever pause to wonder what keeps the water flowing, or if the well ever needs to be refilled. This is the rhythm for many blessed with a giving spirit. In every season, emergencies arrive without warning, pulling you from rest and calling you out of comfort. Late-night calls pierce the quiet. Stories of heartbreak or calamity tumble in at the worst possible moments, and all eyes turn to the one who always knows how to help. There's a hidden expectation, sometimes spoken, sometimes silent, that you will answer, you will pour out, you will make things right. The storms in other people's lives blow in like summer squalls, and every time, your plans, your peace, your priorities are set aside so you can haul the lifeboat back into the water, rescuing someone else from the flood. It's never just once. The faces change, the needs shift, but the pattern is familiar as sunrise. When the danger passes and the air clears, those rescued often return to their routines. Grateful perhaps, but assuming the well will always be there for the next dry spell. Days roll into weeks, weeks into years, and the helper's post becomes a permanent station. Always ready, always prepared to give, yet almost never finding a moment to draw up water for their own soul. The phone rings again. The knock comes at the door, and duty answers before desire ever gets a chance to speak. And yet, under that constant giving, there is a quiet truth, one not often spoken aloud. Every well, no matter how deep or generous, needs rain from heaven. Every servant needs seasons of replenishment, times to let their own bucket be filled, moments to receive what they so faithfully give. But when everyone expects the water, few remember the source, and the soul that gives and gives can begin to run dry. This cycle isn't born out of malice. Most who drink from the well have never known what it costs to keep the water sweet. But over time, the constant giving becomes not just a habit, but an identity, the one who always answers, the one who never runs out, the one who will pour out until there's nothing left. Still, beloved, there is hope. There is a promise for every well tender, every storm calmer, every standby helper. God Himself knows your name. He sees every bucket drawn, every prayer offered in secret, every moment your heart ached for your own comfort, while your hands met another's need. In the heavenly record, not a single act of compassion is overlooked, and the day is coming, a season of rain, a time of replenishment, a moment when the one who has always been on call is invited to rest. The well will be restored, not by the demands of others, but by the kindness of God who says, "Come and drink, beloved. Be filled, be renewed, be honored for all you have poured out. What you gave in hiddenness will return as a river of blessing, overflowing the limits that life tried to set on you. You were never meant to run dry. You were made to be filled, to overflow, to drink deeply of the living water before you give to another. And your season of drought is ending. The clouds are gathering. The first drops are already falling. Imagine a great river dam built strong and tall, holding back the powerful current day after day. It absorbs the pressure, letting only a gentle stream pass through, serving villages and fields below. But over time, as more storms come, The water rises and the cracks begin to show. No matter how solid the foundation, even the best dam can't bear the rising flood forever. Sooner or later, something's got to give. Either the dam will break or the river will find a way around. Life as a giver can feel just like that. The days of holding back your own needs, keeping the peace, and plugging every leak in the lives around you eventually pile up. At first, there's satisfaction in being the one who holds it all together. The applause for your strength, the gratitude for your patience, the quiet pride in being dependable. They feel like purpose, like destiny. But after enough years of pouring out without return, the dam inside grows heavy with invisible burdens. The gentle leaks, little betrayals, missed thank yous, requests that cross the line, start to wear at the seams. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed and let the light of the Lord guide your path. Sometimes, the breaking point is sudden. A demand so unreasonable, a cold shoulder so sharp, or a call for help when you have nothing left to give. Other times, it creeps in with quiet certainty. The realization that your own dreams have become background noise, drowned out by the constant clamor of others' needs. What used to feel like a noble calling now starts to sting, as if you've become a supporting actor in everyone else's drama, never the star of your own life. And yet, here's the miracle. That pain, the very thing that threatens to wash away your old self, is also the force that sets you free. The dam doesn't break to destroy. It breaks to let the river flow as it was always meant to. In the cracking open of old patterns, something beautiful emerges, a new courage, a new clarity, a holy refusal to shrink or settle. The shift is not always comfortable. Sometimes those around you will protest when you finally let the river run wild. They've grown used to the dam, the predictability, the safety of always knowing you'll say yes. But the rising waters are a sign of life, not danger. It is only when the current is allowed to move, when you finally honor your own needs, your own voice, your own place in the sun, that you discover who you really are beneath all that caretaking. And beloved, when the old dam gives way, the world doesn't end. It becomes fertile. The floodwaters bring new life, new harvests, new possibilities. The very pressure that once felt like a curse becomes the blessing that waters your own dreams at last. The breaking is not the end, it's the divine beginning. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. A quiet metamorphosis begins in the shadows, unnoticed by most. The one who was always dependable, always available, suddenly stops and takes measure of the landscape. Patterns emerge, cycles come into focus, and the uncomfortable truth reveals itself. No amount of service, no degree of sacrifice will ever be enough for those unwilling to offer gratitude or respect. The realization stings, but also cleanses, stripping away illusions and making space for a more honest existence. This awakening does not come with gentle whispers or sweet visions. It is rough, demanding, and uncompromising. It forces a reckoning with long-held beliefs about what it means to be worthy, loved, or necessary. The search for validation from closed hearts is revealed as futile, and the endless pursuit of acceptance from those who expect everything but give nothing loses its grip. Instead, there is a turning inward, a rediscovery of gifts and potential that were offered too cheaply to those who did not recognize their worth. A flash of insight arrives, both fierce and freeing. No longer is it necessary to serve as a permanent solution to the world's endless problems or to hand out wisdom and energy to those who treat it as their due. There is value here, genuine, irreplaceable value, and it is time to invest it where it will be honored. This new understanding is a pivot point, a new compass that reorients the journey from constant giving to conscious choosing. Perspective shifts radically. Old questions, why am I treated this way, are replaced with new ones. What keeps me tethered to these patterns? Where am I in this equation? The lens widens, and attention turns from external approval to internal necessity. This change is unsettling but exhilarating, inviting a whole new way of being in the world, one where presence is not a commodity but a sacred offering.